good morning. I apologize, guys. That is not how we wanted to start the morning, being late to what is another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. All right, we have some Arizona Cardinals talk, some Phoenix Suns, a brief response to the Kevin Durant nonsense over the weekend, but it is what it is. Let's talk about it all next.
The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Woo. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like calluses. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
What is up, guys? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making me a part of your day, however you're watching, however you're following the show. We appreciate you doing so on this beautiful Monday morning at 6:06 a.m. We like to call that being late. I don't like to pride myself on being late. Normally, I'm pretty on time, especially recently, but as you can tell, things this morning just not working as properly as I hope they would have. But listen, that's just what it is. It's just what it is this morning on the Ben Garcia Show. So I apologize to you guys as myself being so unprepared, dealing with this with you guys in, I guess I should say, in the show. So as I get this fixed, make myself look a little bit more prettier than I really am, that's actually just not going to be the case this morning. It's just going to be nonsense as it is. My goodness. There we go. A little bit better than it normally is. Either way, guys, appreciate you guys being here, a part of the day. Monday morning, Ben Garcia Show. There's a lot of things to get into. Mentioned before when the show first started that we will talk all things Arizona Cardinals if they are indeed a playoff team now. We'll get to that in just a second. I will also address the Kevin Durant thing with me and him over the weekend. Very brief. I know people are interested to hear what kind of happened there. I really don't care about it at all, but I'll briefly talk about it for 2 minutes on the show. But either way, let's start here. So I wasn't even going to do this conversation. I think it's almost a little overdone. But I think about it a little bit more, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is an interesting discussion to talk about. On this show, if I can choose whether to be positive or choose whether to be negative, I will always choose be positive. Being positive is a better way for me to get clicks. It's a better way for me to get views. It's a better way for me to basically adapt to the fan base. But the one thing that I won't do is lie to you. So when I see the positive outpour after the Cardinals free agency, I find it a little disingenuous. I find it not really fair to the fans. I think it sets unrealistic expectations. Last year, I was the one because I had sole belief in Kyler Murray, because I had sole belief in Monty Ossenfort, because I had sole belief in Jonathan Gannon. The offense, Marvin Harrison Jr., the defense, I didn't think was going to be very good, but I thought that they would be good enough to win 9 to 10 games and get into the playoffs. And so I was the one last year who was given unrealistic expectations. I was the one that set the bar a little too high. But I did think they'd win 9. I did think they'd win 8 games. So now when I see the standard, which it should be, is the Arizona Cardinals making the playoffs this year, I would agree with that's the standard. I don't know if I would say that after free agency, they're a definite playoff team. I like the additions of Josh Sweat and Dalvin Tomlinson. I sung the praises. I love Garrett Williams, Max Melton, Budda Baker. The defense still doesn't have a capable linebacker. There's no Kaiser White yet. still doesn't have capable elite level pass rushers. As much as I do think that the floor of this pass rush has been elevated because you add Dalvin Tomlinson, second year for Darius Robinson, and then you also add Josh Sweat. Like, yes, that makes this pass rush so much better. But it's still in the bottom third of pass rushes. So we're probably still going to have teams pick apart this team. Now, what I think Jonathan Gannon was awesome at doing was manufacturing artificially the blitz, artificially manufacturing sacks. I thought he was great at that. But you can only do so much with talent. You can only do so much with so little talent. And I don't know if Josh Sweat is going to be the same player with the Cardinals without having other high-level pass rushers and defenders on his defense as well. So I know it's not fair, and I feel like it is me being a little negative. If you want to set the standard at the Cardinals being a playoff team, have at it. I won't stop you, and I don't think you're crazy. But just looking at what they did in free agency, I can't get there. I have to be able to trust Kyler Murray. It's not just the defensive side of me. It's not just the pass rush. But regardless of how we feel about this Cardinals season, they're still going to have to play the second half of the season. And Kyler Murray wasn't very good in the second half of the season. I think it's fair to label Drew Petzing a giant question mark. Their still second wide receiver is Michael Wilson, who I think is good, but is he to the level of being a second wide receiver? And I think my guy Aaron in the chat with the super chat said K1 needs to clinch playoffs or he's done in Phoenix. You know, it's so funny, Aaron. I almost believe that a lot of people are just done with him already. So I'm with you. It's hard for me to just set the standard at, yep, they're a playoff team. Minimum 10 wins next year. High floor, 12 wins. That feels a little disingenuous. This pass rush is still not very good. If they add a Trey Hendrickson, which it doesn't look like that's going to happen as of this morning, it sounds like the trade market is dwindling and they're going to try to keep him. So look at the Bengals for shelling out the money. But then it just leaves that maybe Micah Parsons, and that was always a long shot to begin with. So now you're going in to the season without a high-level pass rusher. Again, post-free agency, I wouldn't set the standard yet at the Arizona Cardinals being a playoff team. I wouldn't absolutely just say they're going to win 10 games. This pass rush, bottom third, still in the NFL. Josh Sweat, as much as I like him, more than what the Cardinals had, he still could potentially be just a guy. We don't know how he's going to be outside of Philly. Dalvin Tomlinson, think he's a giant A-plus acquisition. Still everything behind him, not great. Darius Robinson, first-round pick. I worry about the pass rush still. And even more than that, I worry about Kyler Murray succeeding post-Week 10. Drew Petzing is a giant question mark. They're wide receiver too. I'm not sure they have one right now. Maybe, but I'm not sure they do. So, post-free agency, I'd say this team is a fringe playoff team. It's not me trying to be negative. It's not me trying to be a contrarian. I just don't see it as much as other teams do. If I told you, if the Cardinals added Josh Sweat, Dalvin Tomlinson, those are their main two acquisitions. If I told you I added those two players to the Cardinals roster from last year, do they make the playoffs? Probably not, because the offense wasn't good enough. And that's what we're going to say again this year. We're not going to hold the defense accountable. We know that there's a lack of talent and a lack of pass rush. We're going to hold the offense accountable. Can they drag this defense to the playoffs? Listen, I'll make another post-draft one of these, and we'll see what the Cardinals do. If the Cardinals draft the first-round pass rusher, then you're talking about a first-round pass rusher, Darius Robinson, who was a first-rounder last year, who I still think is really good, Josh Sweat, Dalvin Tomlinson. Then we can really talk about how much that's going to help this team. overall, if you're just trying to sell me on playoffs, just to sell me on it, I'm over that. I'm over the pom-pom waving. They've got to put pen to paper. And what the Cardinals did was great, but I thought they did swing and miss a little bit on finding that big trade, that big-er free agency signing. Granted, free agency was not great this year, and I think they lucked out and got Dalvin Tomlinson. But still, I worry about the consistency of this pass rush. And it's not just that. What is the offense going to do? Can Kyler Murray continue to work it out with this team offensively? Those are two giant question marks. And so I don't think we should just give this team the pass of, oh yeah, that's a playoff team, just because they added a couple more players and free agency makes you feel good. Free agency is oftentimes fool's gold. It can potentially make or break you, which is why I've never had it out for Monty Ossenfort for not going crazy in free agency. I thought he did miss the mark a little bit with going and getting a star pass rusher, but that is what it is. We'll see what they can do. We'll talk about it again post-draft, but as of right now, they're a fringe playoff team. So, as many of you know, I am the co-host of Locked On Phoenix Suns. You can kind of see it right there. Let's start it off like this. I know at times I can come off as a little bit of a contrarian. It's not what I'm trying to do, but what I want to do on this show is give you hard-hitting thoughts and opinions. What I want to do is make you think, well, that's kind of interesting. I'm not sure I believe it, but that's kind of interesting. What you won't get on this show is, Kevin Durant's awesome. He's just so good. Oh, man, I just could just watch his highlights all day. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm not pom-pom waving. Both teams, Cardinals and the Suns, have been in turmoil for the last couple of years. So what I'm trying to do is find the solution. However, there's a million avenues you could go. And I've talked about everything on Locked On Phoenix Suns with my guy Brendan Clean. Talked about Booker, his shortcomings this year. I was the one leading the charge at no. He's not an all-star. Well, call me a Booker fanboy if you want. I didn't say that. I've never once said he's the best shooting guard in the NBA. Right now, I'd still take Anthony Edwards over him. So the fanboy thing is just often overused for this team when you're covering them. So over the weekend, I put out a thing that said, is Kevin Durant negatively affecting Devin Booker? Maybe I could have worded it a little bit nicer, but it was my Saturday. I was going out on a walk with my wife. I was getting a coffee. That's my day I don't work. And I put something out because we did a show with Jason Timpf. His Twitter thing is _JasonLT. And I asked him, it says, Kevin Durant negatively affecting Devin Booker. Doesn't seem like the same guy. Is he taking on the worst traits of Kevin Durant? I could have been nicer about it. I wasn't doing so. Oh, it's engagement baiting. No, it's not. I would like you to engage with it, but it's not. It's not what I do. And then, of course, when I put it out there, I knew, God, this is going to be the one that Kevin Durant sees. And for those of you that don't know, when Kevin Durant responds to you, normally he's in your DMs as well. It's happened with pretty much everyone I know that's had Kevin Durant go after them. And what I don't like that Kevin Durant did is he oftentimes does this. He will put out a tweet out there like this one, bunch of laughing emojis. My thing wasn't that funny. And Cloud Garcia is funny. And when you see this, he ended up actually deleting it. Because what Kevin Durant does is he's got rabbit ears. He's a little bit sensitive. He hears everything. He responds back to you, calls you whatever name he wants to call you, which is fine. I'm not offended by that. I couldn't care less what Kevin Durant has to say about me. He sends his goon posse after you. They let you have it, and he deletes his tweet. So it doesn't come back on him, or potentially someone doesn't see it. Puts it up there for a couple hours, and then he deletes it. Make sure people see it, go after you, send his little goon posse that does everything they can to love and adore Kevin Durant. Here's my issue. is nothing Kevin Durant's fault? Nothing. Is it because he's averaging, 27 and 8, nothing is Kevin Durant's fault? What do I owe you as a Suns fan? Legitimately, what do I owe you? I don't owe you anything. You've given this team 6 playoff wins. Now, oftentimes, people cite that 2023 playoff run and say, oh man, why didn't they build around this? Kevin Durant was not very efficient in his first playoff run with the Suns. Believe me, I remember watching and going, man, I feel like they could get more out of Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant has no goodwill stocked up in this team. Devin Booker does. Devin Booker did not leave this team when bleep hit the fan years ago. You know what he did over the weekend? Double, triple, quadruple downed on it. I want to be here. Kind of hard for me to get mad at that in that moment. What I know is since Kevin Durant has showed up, the team has taken a nosedive. First year, they made it to the playoffs and they won 6 games and got blown out by the Nuggets. But the problem is anything ever Kevin Durant's fault? He's got 27 and 8 is not his fault. What do you want me to do? Hold Royce O'Neal accountable? You're the superstar. You're the guy that the Suns had a pep rally for when he was traded here. I don't owe you anything. And so, yeah, I look at Devin Booker and I think, is he the same guy? And I'm more than willing to think, no, he's still the same guy. That wouldn't shock me at all. But what drives me crazy is not being able to ask the question. And so this Suns team, they're pitiful. And you know what the Suns do? The Phoenix Suns, which is why I asked this question, has Kevin Durant negatively affected Devin Booker? You take on the personality of your best player. Kevin Durant is without a doubt the best player on the Phoenix Suns. And they take on the personality of your best player. Every team does that. Celtics, Jason Tatum, just kind of head down and grind. Aaron here, exactly. Ivan here. Yes, what have you done for Phoenix? It's a great question, Ivan. I don't know. Also, it was great to interact with you on Twitter over the weekend. You were some fun. In this sport of the NBA, because it's so superstar driven, you take on the personality of your best player. Lakers, best player on their team is probably Luka Doncic. They're in for a little bit of a culture change. Granted, LeBron James is out right now. 4-game losing streak until, of course, they played the Phoenix Suns, which we'll get to that in just a second. But the Phoenix Suns, not just Devin Booker, have taken on the personality of their best player, Kevin Durant. Kind of lackadaisical. Right now, at this point in their career, he's not an elite level defender. They're not a great defender. The effort's not there. They follow his lead. And when things are going bad, Kevin Durant turtle shells. We've seen that over and over again. And what happens with this Suns team? They turtle shell. When things go bad, they turtle shell. And Kevin Durant, who the team's personality they take on because he's their best player, what does he do? I don't want to be a leader. It's almost his favorite saying. Why do I have to be the leader? Devin Booker should be the leader of this team, but since he's not the best player, that's really hard to do so. So what do teams naturally do? Take on the personality of their best player, and that being Kevin Durant. Every team does that. Look at the Celtics. They're molded and done like Jason Tatum. They're a two-way team. The Lakers for years with LeBron James, who is their leader. You could argue the Luka Doncic thing, but he hasn't been there for very long. Both sides of the court, get a bucket, get a stop. We're going to get down to the basket, get to the free throw line. Oklahoma City Thunder, they almost are legitimately SGA. The Phoenix Suns are very similar to their play style and who they are to Kevin Durant. Just who they are. And so excuse me for asking the question, Has Kevin Durant negatively affected Devin Booker? I shouldn't say that. Has Kevin Durant negatively affected the entire team? You know, it's a great point, Ivan. Yesterday, Luka Doncic said, I've never been so open in my life. Is that not embarrassing for you? Instead of saying you're not going to get that call in the playoffs after fouling Luka Doncic, why don't you just get out on him? What's really frustrating is you're really busy on social media, and it's, you know, at this point, I saw Devin Booker do it too. Kevin Durant's, I don't know, buddy or whatever, from what I've been told. I don't know the guy at all. I don't have any ill will towards him, but his name's something Gonzalez. I forgot his name. But on social media, he tagged me in Devin Booker going after a fan last night and just put the IRL, and the whole social media world thought it was funny. I didn't think so. That's something Kevin Durant would do. And so his buddy, Kevin Durant's buddy, I'm assuming it's his buddy. I don't know. Guy could be lying. I don't know. He tagged me and said, yeah, I think you might have been right at Ben Garcia show. Of course, he was saying it tongue-in-cheek. He's not being serious. He's kind of a troll in that sense. And I'm like, it's kind of a self-own, because that does kind of lean into my point. Has Kevin Durant negatively affected Devin Booker? But let me just open it up. Has Kevin Durant negatively affected Devin Booker? I don't know. I think what a better question is, has Kevin Durant negatively affected the entire team? Because teams take on the personality of their best player. And Kevin Durant is the best player on this team, not Devin Booker. And they're lackadaisical, bit of aloof, kind of emotional. And when things get tough, they turtle shell. And that's what Kevin Durant has done. And because he is the proverbial leader of this team, because he's the best player of this team, that also takes a hit because he doesn't want to be a leader. So, listen, I know you're not allowed to take shots at Kevin Durant, or you're not allowed to say, well, I don't know. Should we talk about Kevin Durant? Are you allowed to criticize him? Does he ever do anything wrong? Whatever. Clown Garcia is here to stay. So, I also thought it was incredibly lame to delete your tweet, going after me. If you're gonna say what you want to say it. That's what I did, and I'm not going to go after someone personally. I'm never gonna use profanity going after someone, but I'm gonna put a sports take out there and a sports opinion. You want to put yours out there towards me? That's fine. Don't delete yours. I find that more insulting than the tweet, which was not insulting at all. So I didn't expect to talk about that for that long, nor did I want to. But it just came off a bunch of decent points that I was making, and I was just on a roll there. So, frustrating. Also, Aaron, that's a really good comparison. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. So, very frustrating that we had to deal with that over the weekend. The Phoenix Suns losing once again. It's also just, is no one embarrassed? The effort's not there. You have Luka Doncic on mic saying, I've never been so open in my life. Is that not embarrassing to you? Also, just so we're clear, Devin Booker was awful again yesterday too. Worse than Kevin Durant. So, listen, you want your fair slice of humble pie? There you go. So, King Nacho's doing his best impression going after Beal, and, it might be warranted this time around. Very frustrating. The Phoenix Suns continue to lose games. I'm not so sure what they're trying to do. And at this point, I would just put Beal on ice. I don't know how much longer you can deal with this nonsense. If you're going to trade Kevin Durant over the offseason, it looks like you're going to, you might as well just preserve that guy and put him on ice. Bradley Beal, put him on ice too. I just don't want to see him anymore. Just let Devin Booker play it out. Outside of that, I'm so sick and tired of this team. Anyways, guys, I'm going to hop off. Gotta go ahead and get to the real day job. This clown's got to head to the circus. So appreciate you guys making me a part of your day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. Every day, 6 a.m. Arizona time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are here talking all things Arizona sports. I'm not taking days off. unless, of course, I end up doing so. So don't hold that against me. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making me a part of your day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And until Tuesday, tomorrow morning, it's been the Ben Garcia Show. I'm Benjamin Garcia, and it's been the Ben Garcia Show.